All right, what's going on, guys? It's Noah, Pioneer Sport Cards for Paddock Talk. I don't know what week or episode this is. A lot of fun. I am joined by the theausf1 collector, or Matt. If you want to go say hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So yeah, I wanted to bring Matt on. This is gonna be a episode more focused on mid '90s, early 2000s cards. I feel like Matt is the most qualified person that I've talked to, at least, to talk about this. So if you want to kind of introduce yourself, talk about how you started collecting cards, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, no, well, look, I've been a massive Formula One fan pretty much my whole life, as much as I can remember. I got into Formula One in the mid '90s when I was probably about 6 or 7 through a PlayStation game, the original F1 game, and just from there it sort of spiraled out of control. Yeah, the OG game with the gold car. I remember just sit there playing like full Adelaide Grand Prix, like with a pixelated car on the screen. And as a kid, I just thought it was like the most realistic and fun thing that you can imagine. But yeah, it's definitely become a juggernaut since then. First and foremost, I'm an autograph collector, and that's kind of how I got into the card scene. Just always looking for extra items to get signed because, like, at the Australian Grand Prix weekend, by sort of like Friday, I'd run out of things to get signed because I was only a kid. I couldn't afford to buy a bunch of things, and then yeah, I used to search for F1 card sets, and that's how it all started for me.
Yeah. So would you say that F1 it was your main start into cards, or did you start with like other sports, or was it just mostly
Well,
F1?
to be honest, when I was a kid, I had like rugby league cards, which is like which is popular in Sydney where I grew up. So
Gotcha.
I collected those, opening packets, and I actually had the original Pokemon cards from when I was a kid as well, just because like everyone at school collected it. But I wouldn't say I was like a huge card collector.
Gotcha.
But I always like appreciated cards, and then yeah, one day I was just searching on eBay. It would have been around 2005 or 6, and I found the 2005 Futera set and just thought it looked unbelievable and thought it looked really cool to get signed, and that's how it all started.
Gotcha. Did you have a since you're from Australia, did you have a favorite driver, specifically an Aussie driver, or were you just a fan of the sport?
To be honest with you, I'm a huge Sebastian Vettel fan. That's more so that I met him at the very start when he was a test driver, and he's
Yeah.
always kind of remembered me. And I used to be a bit of a crazy fanboy for him. I wore this big stuffed Red Bull hat to 5 races in 2010, which we actually gave him the hat, and then he wore it on the podium when he won the World Championship. And in turn, he's given me, I think, 3 pairs of his race-worn gloves. And yeah, just being a fan from the beginning, and some guy he's like the same age as me, so I think he resonated with me, and he was just always really cool and friendly to speak to, and actually spent time with the fans. From an Australian standpoint, I absolutely love Daniel Ricciardo. Just yeah, love his personality. Think he's just so much fun, and I really love seeing him do well. But yeah, Seb's definitely my number one.
Gotcha. Yes, I love Seb. I love the Aussie drivers. They just bring something that none of the other countries really can bring, which is awesome. So jumping in, I know we wanted to talk about Futera Grid. I wanted to start with a Grid. I think this is kind of the perfect introduction set. I kind of talked to you about this right before we started, but I see this Grid set as the perfect introduction for somebody who wants to dive into more vintage cards, if you will, something that they can reasonably be easy to find, something with a good chase card in the Schumacher. Kind of, yeah, just wanted to hear your thoughts, what you thought about this set, what you see for this set in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, Grid's always a set that I've had from when I started my F1 card collecting journey. I loved it because it, as you said, Michael Schumacher's first ever card is, well, arguably first ever cards in that set. It features some really cool rookie cards from like Jacques Villeneuve, Damon Hill, other Formula One world champions, and they're just really like high quality cards. Like they're just printed really nicely. The cars look awesome from the early '90s. So anyone getting into F1, it is a great set to have, and it's just nice, yeah, that it's a full 200 card set. I know you can get the individual packets from, I think it was Spain, but yeah, I think it's a really good intro set, and yeah, it was a lot cheaper when I was buying it initially to get signed, but yeah, I think it's definitely a good way to get into F1 if you want to have a nice sort of '90s set. It's a great one to buy.
Yeah, I agree. I love the Schumacher, the number 51, kind of his iconic one. It's such a good, just like overall picture of him. I feel like sometimes that can be kind of lost in cards, just how good of like a picture it is, how good it is on their face, how much you can recognize them. So I appreciate it
Yeah,
in that.
it's quite a distinct photo of him, like the chiseled jaw, and just like yeah, I think it really like sort of captures Michael Schumacher at his best. They've used a really good image for sure on that one.
Yeah, I really love it for that aspect. And so along with 92 Grid, I know in Australia they had Oh, I don't know. You're way more expert on this. 1995, like Adelaide, 1994 Adelaide stuff. I think that was made by Futera. Yeah, I
Yep.
wanted to kind of hear yourself about that. I just bought my first ever card from that set, so interested to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, look, I absolutely love those sets, and I've been very fortunate. A lot of those older drivers used to come to the Australian Grand Prix, whether it be through commentating or whatever else. So Futera actually started off as an Australian company, and they produced not only Formula One cards, but surfing, cricket. I think they did some soccer as well.
I think they still
And
do
yeah,
soccer.
those. Yeah, no, I know they do, but back then I think they did like a local Australian soccer,
Oh, okay, I
which is
gotcha.
sort of a small Australian company. I've actually spoken to one of their older sales reps, funnily enough, who worked for them when they were Australian. So with those Adelaide sets, that Schumacher, which was the card that you bought, just out of interest?
So I bought it was the 1994 Redemption, the one with Schumacher, Senna.
Ah, yes, yeah, yeah. That's the one where you had to send in. I think it was 20 packet wrappers, and they posted it back. Yeah, that's a cool card. But I think it's just such a good looking set as well. Like, personally, being a Formula One fan, I also like that the cards have the cars on it. I know from a general sports card point of view, people like the photos like of Schumacher and grid, but as like an F1 enthusiast, like you can really appreciate the different cars that raced in Adelaide, particularly in the 94 set. It's more of like a history and celebration of those drivers and the cars that they drove at that race. Which is really cool. And like, you got some beautiful center cards with the victory lanes. And yeah, there's that center tribute card, which is actually the only card in that whole Futera series I don't own, which is now at least a $500 card if you can find it. But even years ago, it was like a $200 card. And for me, I just couldn't really justify it. And again, I used to look at the items as something to get signed. And obviously, I couldn't get Senna to sign it. So it wasn't high up on my priority list. But now, the last year or so has flipped my view on cards, so definitely it is one that I'd love to track down and add to the collection soon. But funny story with the Futera 95, the Schumacher Redemption card. Have you seen it in the Benetton colours?
I believe I think actually think I might have that on my watch list if I go there.
Yeah, look, it's a really cool looking card. But my understanding was that, speaking to this sales rep, Schumacher was actually had an initial agreement to sign them all, and that's why it was a redemption. So you'd send it in and get back a signed card. But when they got down to the final negotiation, Schumacher wanted $1,000 Australian per autograph,
Oh,
which obviously Futera couldn't justify. We're talking like a $3 packet of cards.
yeah.
And so in the end, they just cancelled them being signed. And yeah, they were just released as a redemption card. But there's a few different numbers. There's like one's numbered to 500, one's numbered to 200. It gets a bit sort of skewed as well with that card, which is quite interesting. I think mine's one of the 200, one of the 500 one, which is the easy one. But if you get the 200 one with the redemption, and it also has a certificate that came back with the redemption, and that was because it was meant to be signed. I think that's the
Gotcha.
rarer one to get. But same with the Senna tribute card in '94, they accidentally, I think it was meant to be like 1 in 40 boxes, but they put it in 1 in 40 packets at the start by accident. So a whole bunch of them went to the Adelaide Grand Prix itself, and people were just ripping them left, right, and centre at the track at the day of release, because the people packing the card stuffed up the ratio, and yeah, it was all heavily weighted to the front end of the production line.
Gotcha. Yeah, the one I have saved is the one number to 500. I really liked this card. I thought this was actually a really interesting buy. I mean, this was I the price this was at was 370 US, so 500 you guys. It was yeah. I really like. It's just a good picture of him. Anything like from a set like this, number to 500, like good luck finding it, especially in the states. Like good luck finding this card.
Oh yeah, like even in Australia, like I used to search eBay week in week out for new F1 cards, and like it was never a cheap card years ago, and it was few and far between. It's not something that you'll find all the time, and even now, so with how popular Formula One is, yeah, definitely becoming more and more scarce.
Yeah, that's why I've loved looking at these sets. I feel when everybody's looking at this new Chrome set, there's always gonna be good stuff back in the day I could find for cheap. So that's why I bought that Schumacher Senna number. I think it's at most number to 3,000. I've talked to a few people who think it's less than that. But yeah, like
Yeah, look, I asked the sales rep actually that he reckons that they probably would have redeemed nearly 3,000 of them at the time. So sort of, yeah, you had to redeem it by mid 1997, or I think it was, if you look at one of the back of the old packets. But look, a lot of these, I think with Australians, a lot of people, particularly with like our football cards and local football cards, people don't appreciate them. They'll throw them in a box, put an elastic band around them, and just sort of they'll be in someone's attic. So
Yeah.
there won't be many out there in good condition. It'll be much rarer than one, 3,000 on how many would be in a suitable collector's condition.
That was my whole thing. Maybe this is, you can probably touch on this a lot better. My whole reasoning with it was, so the biggest number I'd seen a number two out of was 1,800. So I knew there's at least 1,800 made at the least if they weren't all redeemed. And I know Australia, like the card like scene isn't nearly as strong as it would be in America. So my thought process,
Absolutely.
so my thought process was A, these cards would be in much worse condition because they're not going to be as cared for. B, they probably could have just gotten thrown out by old family who, like, it's not a big thing. Like, plenty of cards got thrown out in America, so I would assume the same for over there. So, just for the stuff like that, like how actual many are in good shape, I reckon there would be pretty few.
Yeah, I agree as well. And particularly with the 95 deck, because it's got like a fat blue border around it. A lot of them have like white chips into it. Like it doesn't keep very well, that set. So I just think, there'd be a lot of cards from that deck in terrible condition. But yeah, the base cards from that set never really grew in value from release through to, even now. You can pick up base sets for $20 on an Australian website I can lead you to that's got a full 95 set. I think a lot of people just thought they were worthless and didn't, they might have had a rare card in with their regular cards and not realise the value of it. But yeah, they'd be few and far between for sure.
Gotcha. So, yeah, Futera makes 1985. From what I know, they stopped making F1 cards until 2005. I don't know if that's correct. Maybe you can help me with that.
Yeah, absolutely. My understanding is, so it was an Australian company based in Melbourne, and they sold the whole branding and everything to a Japanese, to Japan, and they became a Japanese company.
Gotcha.
So obviously they specialised, from my understanding, soccer or football, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did those sets in 05 and 06. So the 05 set was a lot more of a standard release. In the foil packet, you get a couple of base cards, maybe an insert. There was some memorabilia, some autographs and whatnot. But I think the 2006 set, from my understanding, was pitched as a much higher end product. There was only 40 cases of 12 boxes released worldwide. Each packet kind of looked like a cigarette packet. You got 4 base cards in it, and one like relic card or autograph card per packet. So there's the same number of inserts in 05 as 06, but there was far less packets produced of 06 because you were guaranteed a hit in every packet, basically. Yeah.
So, I know I bought a complete set of 2005, and I love it. I think the cards look gorgeous. The inserts, I don't know how rare some of the inserts are. I've seen a lot of different inserts. I know they have the pace one. That's kind of the most commonly one that I see. There's also another one, I can't think what the name of it is, but there's another one that's also, I think, pretty hard to find. Seems kind of weird how they kind of did it with like these weird inserts that are like, pace is kind of pretty easy, and then there's these other inserts that are just really hard to find.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, I've only ripped probably 10 packets of 05. I bought them all over the years as complete sets. Actually, there was a guy on Facebook that bought a number of, seemingly unopened packets, but given the hits in it, I think it's a little bit dubious. But long story short, I only ripped pace cards as they were the only things that I found in the 10 packets, and everyone that showed their hits from there, I think he had something like 200 plus packets. No one pulled anything other than a pace card, from what I can see.
Interesting.
There's the World Legends, or like Grand Prix Legends. There's 6 of those. They're like acetate cards, like the pace. There's Senna, Gilles Villeneuve, Mansell, Stewart. Who are the other ones? There's a couple of others in that set.
I think that's the one I was talking about. I just remember there was one like acetate besides pace that was really hard to find.
Yeah, they're very... Well, I think the Gilles Villeneuve card only came with the album, like the official album. It was like, there's a little pocket inside the album, which I've got, and I believe that came in the album, and the other 5 were in packets.
Gotcha.
And then there was also a set called Moments. They're like perforated cards of Senna, like Senna's victories at Monaco. There's only 6 of those, and they seem to be quite rare as well. And then you start getting into the memorabilia and the auto cards. But with the 05 set, there was just the standard memorabilia cards which were numbered to 275.
Gotcha.
There was the dual patch memorabilia cards which were to 175, if memory serves me correctly, and then you've got the one-of-one autographs, which from what I've seen, there's no list out there of what they did in that, but there's a Japanese website which I can send you later where a guy's got a bunch of them. There's like Ove Anderson, who was like the Toyota team principal in 2002, like he has an auto card. It's just a really weird, eclectic mix of people that they have signatures from in that set. But I think with a lot of their autographs, they've just sourced them from somewhere and encased them into like a frame of a card. I've got one of their autographs, which is the Sterling Moss 1/1 from the 05 set.
Oh, sweet. So I think that'll lead us to one of the main points we wanted to talk about, which was this your discovery with the Schumacher stuff, or was this?
Yeah. So look, I've been chatting to a high-end card collector from overseas. I don't know if he wants me to talk about him or not, but I was just sort of saying to him, I'd never actually seen any of the auto cards from the 06 set, and he was like, "Oh mate, like I used to rip boxes, every week of these cards," and he actually sent me some photos, and I saw a picture of the Schumacher 1/1, and it just didn't sit well with me. Like I've been an autograph hunter, been to the Australian Grand Prix every year since 2002, and got I reckon at least being conservative 50 Schumacher autographs in person, and that what they authenticated as their 1/1 autograph is I will put my reputation on it and say that is not Schumacher's autograph. It's a poor example, and it just sort of makes me question them a little bit of where they've been sourcing their products from. And look, I'm not saying that all the other autographs are fake or the relics are fake, but if they're authenticating that as a signature, you really need to question the credibility on what they're putting out there from a relic and an autograph standpoint. And I think it was in 2010 or 2011, someone was messaging me. They actually got caught authenticating match-worn soccer tops in cards, which came back, and it was proven that they were never had anything to do with any of the players or ever worn as well.
That's very interesting, and it's especially frightening because of their new ridiculously high-end set that they came out for $600. That
exactly. And look, I started World War III, I think, with a few comments I've put on Facebook and in the Discord and everything else. But look, from what they've sent through, it's a good-looking set. For me, they've photoshopped out logos, which to me is really tacky. To me, it holds no credibility or weight, from a licensing standpoint, which we can get in from a separate point of view, but also I'd really test the credibility and credentials of their relics, given that a bunch of those relics in the newer set, I believe, would be leftover relics from their older sets, because they've got interesting drivers that you wouldn't normally pick in that set, like Fisichella, there's Barrichello,
Juan Pablo.
Juan Pablo, Button, who you probably would pick, but there's a few drivers there that had memorabilia cards in 05 and 06, and I reckon they're the same relic, that they've still got a patch of race suit that they're just cutting out and whacking it into those cards. I'd be very bloody interested to know where they got that Lewis Hamilton relic stuff from, because his stuff is just so hard to get and just sells for obscene amounts of money. I'm not too sure, to be honest, how they would have sourced that, particularly that they got no license or affiliation with Formula One.
Oh, 100%. And so going to the Schumacher auto, you said somebody sent this to you, and like right away when you saw it, did you just have a feeling that this was just not something that was right?
Yeah, I just saw it, and I sent it to one of my mates who's a big autograph collector as well, and he's just like, what the fuck is that, basically?
Yeah.
We're just, that's ridiculous. We're just making fun of it, and I kind of just sat on it for a while. Like, I didn't really put it out, because it's to my detriment to a degree to sort of question Futera, because I've got a lot of their product, even relic cards from 05, 06, like I got Senna relics and everything else, but it just wasn't sitting well with me. And then the other week when I saw they were releasing a product and pitching it as a high-end relic product, I just had to say something, because to me it's just not right. Like, I'm not saying that, again, I'm not making any representations that the current relics aren't real, but you've definitely got to ask some questions of them. I think the problem now as well is, like, 0506, they weren't competing with a licensed product. Like, Topps weren't around. No one was making F1 cards. So I don't necessarily think it was wrong in what they were doing, unless F1 pulled them up on it. And they kept the logos on the cars, the drivers' suits and hats, and they looked really cool. Now they're undercutting a full licensed product. And basically, look, they've had every opportunity to make Grand Prix cards from 07 till 2020, and they haven't done it. They're simply piggybacking off Topps goodwill, and basically, the hype that's come from the Topps license. And they're basically parasites off the back of that, as far as I'm concerned. I know it's probably a big call, but they're just trying to profiteer and put something out there and build off the popularity of someone that's doing the right thing and paying a license for. And that's probably my gripe with the current set is A, where are the relics from, and B, they're undercutting the licensed product.
Yeah, I would say I'm a little higher, like, supportive of it than you are. I always like having some form of competition for the company so they don't get complacent. Now,
Yeah.
whether Futera is going to be a big competition with only making like 22 boxes, not really. I would.
Oh, look, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be eating any profits away from Tops,
Oh,
but I just think
yeah.
for me, it's just like, to me, it doesn't hold any credibility away. Like, you photoshopping logos, like the artist mock up of the Weber card, like, it's just a plain navy racesuit. Like, they've taken all the Red Bull off, and it just doesn't. It just looks tacky in my view. I don't know. For me as a collector, I couldn't look at that and go, that's a really high end product that I'm going to hold with a lot of weight in my collection. When you've got Dynasty, but with Tops, and you've got the chrome autographs. I think they're the ones that
Yeah.
you're really going to want in your collection because they're authenticated and direct from Formula One.
The thing that disappoints me with Futera is there are certain ways you can do the unlicensed and make them look good, and they kind of took the easy way out. Like, I kind of look at like how Dynasty does their photos with just the headshot. They could have done something just like just the headshot of them. You know who it is, say their name, then throw the thing, and that would be much better than the no logos because it just gets to the point with Panini and baseball where I can't collect the cards just because they look empty. They look lifeless. They don't look like there's anything exciting to them. So I hope.
Yeah, and look, I don't disagree with that as well. But I think they've obviously not put any cars on the images which they did previously, and I think that's because of that exact reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, headshot. Like actually the World Legend acetate cards from 05 kind of only are the headshot. You can see sort of logos on them, but they've kind of just stuck with the head, which probably would have made it look a little bit better. But I just think when you're showing full body shots of drivers and photoshopping logos out, it's it's just not for me personally.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know what the right word to describe it is. It just kind of leaves a weird taste in your mouth that, especially when you know that Topps is kind of already hitting this kind of higher end. Like, if Topps didn't come out with Dynasty, I think it'd be a lot more intriguing. But since we already have since we have the Dynasty with autos on them too, it just is like, why would I want to pay $600 for a Lewis relic when there's gonna be Lewis relics probably out this year that are, maybe they're not race suit, but it'll be at least a relic card that has Lewis Hamilton on it.
Yeah, for sure. And look, with with Dynasty or Dynasty, they've covered that higher market. I think it's sort of like the way I would put it is Dynasty is a Rolex, and Futera's versions you go to Bali and you buy a fake Rolex. That's to me how I would sort of describe the disparity between the two. To me, it's like you're wearing a fake watch or you've got a fake Louis Vuitton handbag and you're celebrating that as being a quality product, and that's sort of the view I take on the Futera cards, which might be a bit harsh, but that's just now how I see it, considering that they're competing with the direct license.
Gotcha. Do you have any other sets from that era that I did not mention that you wanted to touch on? I am not the biggest expert, like I say, so.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look, in the 90s, you had the Pro Tracks, which was a 200 card set.
That's correct.
Were like race moments, and then they had some driver pictures. They're really sort of, to be honest with you, the card is probably, it's quite thin cardboard, and all the black borders sort of get that white sort of, they start to dot, because if you start rubbing the cards together, they come apart. They're not the best quality, but there's some really cool images in that set. And again, like for an entry level, if you can pick up that set for like $50, like, yeah, it's definitely worth having. There's some great names in that, like Senna, Mansell, Prost, all those kind of guys. And there's some cool like world champion cards with like Prost with his world championship pit board and things like that in that set, which are quite cool. There's another set from 92 called Calms. It's like CARMS. It's just basically they did 3 shots of everyone on the grid. So a face shot, a helmet shot, and a car shot. So that, I think it's more often, it's early 92 because Schumacher isn't in. Actually, no, I think it's 91 or 92. I'd have to double check that, but Schumacher isn't in it. So I'm starting to think that it's of the 91 set but produced in 92.
Did you say that was CRAMS, CRAMS?
CARM. CARMS. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've got it. I've got it. Here, I can send you some photos of this.
If you want.
A little bit later if you want to have a look. But I think, look, they came in like
Found
a
them.
box, like a little presentation box, like half the size of the grid ones. And it's just got some cool images in that one. Williams did a Williams celebration set in 1992, which the box is not too dissimilar to the grid box. It just featured all the drivers that had driven for Williams at the time, plus all their race wins. It had like an individual card for every single race that they'd won. Plus, there's some like team photos of like Adrian Newey as a young designer and Frank Williams, Patrick Head. It's quite a cool set. Some good portrait shots of Damon Hill, Nigel Mansell, Martin Brundle, who's obviously now the Formula One commentator. He features in that set. Keke Rosberg, Piquet. But yeah, it's just another cool set, which is inexpensive. I think you can still pick them up for like $20 to $50 US on eBay. Then you obviously then you go into the mid 90s, which would be your Adelaide sort of sets, and then the only other one I can really think of is that there's a Jacques Villeneuve set that's in French. That basically it's from his championship year, and it features like all these race wins. Over, I don't know if it features 96 as well, but it's definitely got all these 97 race wins. I don't have that set, but one of my mates has got it, and he's got every single card of it signed by Jacques Villeneuve because he's a commentator now, and he literally just like walks through the crowd in Australia and no one recognises him except for like the autograph hunters. So he's quite accessible now. But yeah, that's another 90 set that I don't believe that there's any sort of proper substantial sets besides those ones.
Gotcha.
And then you get to your mid 2000 Futeras, and then that's about it really until you get to tops now. Like there's obviously the Sports Illustrated, individual cards, and there's Czech Stadion from 01, which my understanding they were like you got a pack of cards with a sports magazine, and it was like there's like Tiger Woods in there and tennis players and F1. I think there's like 200 different international sports stars. So technically, Kimi, Button, Alonso, Montoya, they're rookie cards in that set. If you want to sort of, basically say that that's a real card, Formula One card set, or that they're genuine cards, they could be in the argument for their rookies.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was aware of a decent amount of them. There's a few like the Williams set, the Jacques Villeneuve set, but they were it's very interesting because like, even like looking up like eBay, like you're not like, it's so hard to find some of this stuff if you're just like one at a time, just like how I just looked it up. Like I couldn't find it just looking at it. So you're gonna have to really dig deep if you're gonna want to find these cards, which is part of the chase, which is why I love the F1 stuff. Because if you want to find some of this older stuff, you're gonna have to dig deep to find it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's not easy to find. Actually, I just typed in comms now. You can buy a full sealed box with a set of 91 Pro Tracks for $100 US. Look of it from Canada. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I was looking at sold sales, so that's probably part of my problem. But because I forgot to turn it off. But interesting how many cards there are, and it's funny because it's so hard like to find these cards that any Formula One card you find is like a notable. It feels notable to me, like especially like with the Sports Illustrated for kids. Like there were how many people like saw as a kid in America who opened it up and saw, oh, race car, I don't need that card. Because like I could tell you that's probably the mindset for the majority of the people who would open them. I had a friend who had sets in 2009. And I told him about the card because he said he might have had some of his left over, and he's like, "Oh, if it was a race car, like a sport I didn't care about, I probably just like crumpled it up and threw it away. Like it wasn't anything I cared about."
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to how hard a lot of the stuff is to find, and why I think some of it's just such like really low like prices in comparison to how rare they probably are to find.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, particularly with America, I don't think Formula One was as popular.
No,
it's
definitely not.
Bigger now with Netflix, and your crowd at the Austin Grand Prix just shows how popular it's becoming as well. But at least in Australia, my whole life we've had a Grand Prix, and it's always sort of been something that's been embraced in Australia as well. So I guess with those cars, like people might have and maybe not look after them. I don't think they might have thrown them away, but it's just interesting now that. The American market's booming, and I think that's only going to help all the cards that are coming out and all the older, rarer ones, particularly like those Panini acetate cards from the 80s. And it's just crazy what, honestly, I never really searched for them, but I guarantee if I had looked for those 10 years ago, I probably would have picked them up for about $1 or two each. Just kicking myself I didn't do that because I just didn't really have a card collector's or a card investor view on these earlier on.
Yeah, it's crazy those. I know there's right now the big push to be able to get PSA to grade the 84 Panini because PSA won't grade it right now and SG still will. So I think that's something to follow up on that's going to be interesting if PSA will finally accept, because I can't remember who is the one in the Discord who keeps fighting him on it, but they keep trying to get
Yeah.
more and more. They keep asking for more and more evidence, and they keep sending it, and then they keep saying, "Oh, we need a little bit more." So I find that kind of a funny banter back and forth, and we'll see if PSA finally caves in, and we'll grade them because from
Yeah,
everything I've seen, they're legit cards.
yeah, they look like, again. Look, Panini probably wouldn't have had a Formula One license, but then again, Grid wouldn't have either.
Yeah,
And as I said, I think from all those eras, to me, it's not as much of an issue because they're not competing with a directly licensed product.
exactly.
It's a little bit different as we have that now. But look, for me, I know maybe I'm looking on this fondly because it's an Australian card, but there's a 1986 motorsport set from Australia which features Formula One and Australian touring cars. And it's got a picture of like Senna and his 85 Williams, and that's to me the first cardboard card of Senna that I'm pretty sure.
Oh, nice.
That I know of. But obviously, you've got the acetate card from Panini, and then there's a bunch of stickers that predate that. But from an actual proper trading card, Scanlan's I think is up there and one that people should look for. And there's not many because it's on really flimsy cardboard that would be in good condition. I think that's probably a card people should look out for.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely keep my eyes on a lot of this stuff, especially knowing, like, listening and hearing how much you know. It helps me be more insightful for what I buy because, like I keep saying, there's so much good value, and I wanted to know. So I know some people right now in sports are trying to move away from cards and more into tickets. I was curious if you kind of have fun memorabilia that you have over the years that you've gotten.
I saw that. There's I think his name's James on the Discord. He has a lot of interesting and really cool tickets, and I just find it fascinating, like some of the prices. Because like, if you went to the Australian Grand Prix in 2015, like you just find them on the ground. Like people would just throw them out. Or when I was a kid, I actually used to ask like people leaving the Paddock Club if I could have their pass, just just something to get signed. And an older lady would just give me her pass. She's like, "Yeah, sure, here you go." Like they wouldn't care. They couldn't care less. So it's quite funny to think that. People are now collecting those. Personally, I'm into vintage programs, like the
Gotcha.
race program book that you can buy at the event. Although Justin was saying to me they didn't sell them at Austin, and I've noticed that this year. It doesn't seem like they've got rid of programs. So I'm hoping that's not going to be the case moving forward, because every time someone wins a world championship, I try and buy the program of that race, or if it's a significant milestone race win, like a first win, or if it was Hamilton's 100th win, I try and buy it to get autographed. And I've got. Well, I'm looking at it now. I reckon I've got 200 plus programs quite easily sitting here.
Gotcha.
From over the years. But yeah, tickets to me. Look, all the tickets because I've been to 30 races. I keep my own tickets, but I haven't really delved deep into the tickets. But definitely race programs is a big one for me. My most prized one would be the original program from 1966 Monza, Jackie Stewart's first race win, which I got him to sign in 2019. So that one's pretty cool. And I've got Niki Lauda's 84 championship, Portugal one, and Alan Jones, the Australian world champion, his very first win from Austria in 1977.
That's awesome.
Quite a few of the older ones, but all the racing guys like Max's first win, Lewis's, I've got all them all signed, which I'm very fortunate to have.
All right, so jumping kind of on the similar trend, people listening have probably heard you have a billion autographs, and I was curious about how you go about getting this stuff signed, whether you do mostly in person or if you've ever sent stuff, how you kind of go about that.
I'd say the majority of it I've got, definitely the majority has been in person. Look, I kind of, as we say in Australia, walked ass backwards into autograph collecting. It's not something I set out to do. It kind of just happened. I remember my dad took me to the Grand Prix back in 2002. I was the week before my 13th birthday, for my 13th birthday, and I remember just walking around near the pits and there was all this commotion. I was thinking, what's going on here? And Jacques Villeneuve was at a fence signing autographs, and I couldn't believe it. Watching these guys on TV as a kid and playing as them in video games, and you just see him, he's right there. So I think I got an envelope signed by him. And then I just started to wait around, and then I'd get the program signed, and then it just kind of snowballed. I'd buy model cars, mini helmets, cards, and all sorts of stuff. And it just kind of went from there. So the majority of autographs I've sourced in person, mainly at the Australian Grand Prix. I have been to a number of races overseas. I tend to just go and enjoy the races when I go overseas and have beers and just enjoy it. I don't really hunt for autographs as much overseas, but I did in England in 2010. I went to the Goodwood Festival because a lot of the older drivers were there that don't come to Australia, so like Emerson Fittipaldi and Mika Hakkinen, and at that time I'd never met Damon Hill. I met Damon Hill and Nigel Mansell, who I've only met the once. So I did do a bit of autograph chasing back then. But yeah, it's mainly been in person. Not so much recently, but more when I was a kid. I did write letters to a lot of the older guys. Like Sterling Moss, I've got a bunch of letters that he's written back to me, and I used to ask him questions about his racing, and he'd sign, like, he once sent me back, oh, Matt, this, like, was the picture from his win of the 1955 British Grand Prix, saying, oh, hi, Matt, this is from my win at Aintree in 1955, my favourite ever win, like, all the best. Sterling
That's
Moss
awesome.
sent that back to me, and like Jody Scheckter has a farm in the UK, and I sent him stuff. I guess the best mail request autograph I've ever got was Keke Rosberg, Nico Rosberg's dad. He just never came to Australia. He's a bit of a recluse, and like he'd go to very select few races, but I'd never met him. Anyway, I found out that he owns a racing team in Germany, and I emailed the team probably like 20 times over the years, and I finally got a response from his team manager saying, oh, hi, Matt, yeah, would be happy to arrange the autographs. It might take some time. Can you send them to me? And when he comes to the factory, I'll send them back to you, signed. Anyway, I sent them, I think, in 2017, and they came back at the start of 2020 signed. So I sent him, I think I sent him about 10 model car bases. So with the Mini Champs cars, they're on like a cardboard inlay. So I unscrew the car and you can flatten out the inlays, and I send them and get them signed on the back. So when you look at the car, you can see the autograph directly behind the car. They look really cool. But yeah, that was probably the best mail request. Because just someone I was really wanting to get an autograph from, and it just took so long to track him down.
That's awesome. It's awesome hearing that, especially because I always say, like, the chase of getting it is so much more fun than actually getting it. So just like hearing,
100%.
So just hearing that story of how hard you had to work, it just feels like I can just imagine how rewarding you feel when you get that in 2020, 3 years later. We're like, holy shit, it finally happened.
Yeah, just it turns up and you just kind of can't believe it. So it's that's a good one. But yeah, look, from just waiting for autographs, like I've become a bit inventive. Like I've snuck into places I shouldn't have. I've gone to the hotels and worn a suit, and then like, you got to be a little bit creative sometimes. I think, particularly with that. I know it's probably a little bit weird as well. And the older I get, the weirder I kind of feel doing this kind of thing. But yeah, to get these guys, it's not easy because they're in high demand and they do get mobbed. But if you're fortunate enough to get yourself in a position where you can meet a lot of these guys one-on-one or very few with them, a lot of them are really good and they'll actually engage with you. They're just normal people at the end of the day. But yeah, when it's like a shit fight, as I'd say, and everyone's trying to get an autograph, it can be a bit tough. But yeah, and drivers definitely change throughout their careers. You see them come in young and they'll spend a lot more time with the fans, and as the years go on that they're in F1, they'll sign less and less and be a bit harder to get. But I can't blame them. Like, I see what they get in Australia, and, we're not necessarily a huge Formula One country, whereas you go to Europe and they just get that week in, week out. So I don't really blame them, if I'm honest, with how much demand they have from fans week in, week out everywhere.
Yeah, it's so. Oh, I had a question for you. I can't think of what it was. It was gonna be good. It was gonna be a good one. I was so invested that I just lost what I was gonna say.
But actually, if you want to think, if you were saying sort of the chase of an autograph, one of the best ones for me actually, Kimi has always been really, really hard to get. I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
I've got two, with Kimi. So I used to be like a fat 15-year-old kid, going to the Grand Prix trying to get away. I remember once I was like, he was driving out of the track, like in his road car, and I was running, and he'd slow down, and I'd get up to the car, and he'd fucking drive off a little bit, and I'm like running, panting, like trying to chase after him. Anyway, after about probably like 300-400 meters, he like put the window down. And I'm like, can you sign this? And he was just like, wanted to see you run. And he like signed my program. And the next year as well, I chased after him. And there was like a few people were like cottoned on and they were like chasing as well. And he put his window down the tiniest bit. And I just dropped the program with a pen like through the window. And he drove off. And I'm like, fuck, I've lost my program. I think it was signed by everyone other than him and Schumacher at that point. And then like 100 meters down the road, the program flew out the window with the pen. And he'd signed perfectly like on his profile for me. Yeah, I had some really cool moments like that. But I feel it's just more like the whole environment of being around the drivers and the memory of actually meeting them. Like, to me personally, I generally don't buy autographs because it doesn't really do it for me. For me, it's about I've met and I've got that sign in person. Even with mail requests, I guess you get that to a degree, but it's more, it's just the whole experience of just being in and around Formula One, and it's like a token that you were there and you met that driver.
So I remember what I was going to ask. It was going to be, Since you've gone to races for almost 20 years, how would you say the interaction of drivers to fans has been? Has it gotten better in recent years with more popularity? Has it gotten worse? People not being as
Ooh.
engaging? I mean, I don't know if you could quite answer this, but I was curious what you thought about it.
That's a really tough question because I think it comes down to the individuals and the people. I mean, in the very early years of me going to the Australian Grand Prix, security was like really tight. And they used to park in a car park that the public could just walk through, but they'd come out of the paddock and they'd literally have like a ring of security around them, and like it was really hard to get autographs. And then that kind of sort of laid back in the mid 2000s, and you could get a lot more autographs. I think some drivers have always been good at signing, and some not so much. Like with Kimi, for instance, he'd always come over to the fans at the fence maybe like once for the weekend, and that would be it. In the whole sort of time that Schumacher was at Ferrari in 02 to 06, I think he came over once in the 4 years to sign autographs. Vettel's probably, out of all the big names, Vettel's been the best. Like, he always takes the time to sign for fans. Like, he'll come over, he'll spend like 20 minutes at the fence and make sure everyone's got an autograph, and that hasn't really changed with him. Like Lewis's personality has just changed dramatically over the years. Like, he used to be really laid back and cool, probably to about 2012, and then once he sort of signed for Mercedes, he just became a lot harder to get.
Gotcha.
It just like, yeah, Max has always been pretty good. Like, he'll sign a few. I remember there was one year, probably would have only been 2019. He was in Japan, and it said he was like, someone got a photo with him on Instagram at the airport in Japan. There's only one flight a day into Melbourne from Japan, so I thought, like, fuck it, I'm going to go to the airport to try and get his autograph. I was the only one there with one other person, and he signed like 8 autographs. I had a chat to him. Like, I think it just depends, like, in what circumstance you get them. Also, with the drivers, like, I try and engage with them. I'm not just like, I'll sign this. Like, I try and have a bit of a chat. And I think if you show a human side to them, they open up a bit more as well. If you have a bit of a laugh with them, I think if you just like, throwing things at them to sign, then, they probably are a bit more standoffish with you as well.
Yeah, do you have a favorite conversation kind of going off of that you really enjoyed? Maybe that Max conversation or something else where that really just stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Seb knowing who I am, like, I was really extremely lucky. I basically winning the lottery. I got given a paddock pass for Ferrari for like a whole day at the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2015.
Yeah.
I was like in the motorhome, like I had lunch in the motorhome. Kimi was like on the table next to me, and I just had free reign. I got a garage tour. It was like the most unbelievable experience. But like, I just remember like Seb's there, and he was like, "Oh, how you going?" Like, it was just like a general chat as if he kind of knew me, which was like, it was refreshing. And he just like, we just started talking about music and bands, and like I was going to Romania after that to a festival, and we started talking about like Kasabian, and yeah, it was just it was just really random, which was kind of cool. But he always sort of asked me how I am, sort of recognised me. But I think with Nico Rosberg, there was once he was like kind of hanging around at the hotel, and I really wanted to get this mini helmet signed, so I kind of just went up to him and like, "Oh, hey Nico, you've really got to beat Lewis. Like, I'm sick of him winning." This would have been at the start of 2016.
Yeah.
He's like, he's laughing, and we just had a general chat back and forth. And I asked him for his full autograph. He does this like amazing full Nico Rosberg autograph. It's like printed on his caps and merchandise, but I've never actually seen him sign one.
Yeah.
So I just asked him, like, at the end of the conversation, he's like, "Oh mate, I got to go." I'm like, "Oh, do you mind if you sign this?" He's like, "No problems." Like, "Is there any chance I can get your full autograph?" And he's like, "Yeah, no worries." And after he signed it, he like held the little mini helmet visor up. He goes, "Only you and my credit card have that autograph." That was that was a good one. When I was 21, I was at the British Grand Prix, and Daniel Ricciardo was sharing a pass with Brendan Hartley, who raced at Toro Rosso.
Yeah, Brendan Hartley. What a throwback name.
Yeah. So like they were sharing a pass. So Danny was there on the Friday and Sunday, and I think Brendan was there on the Saturday.
Okay.
And because I was Australian, I'm like the same age. Like, he was just chatting to me, like we're just chatting about like random stuff. And like I honestly, like, I wanted to go and do other things. This is before he'd ever raced in F1, and I couldn't get rid of him. Like, it was pretty funny. But I've brought that up to him a couple of times. He's like, "Yeah, I remember," and he just laughs. But yeah, Danny Rick's always been really good to me and signed some good autographs. And actually, Charles Leclerc gave me his hat in 2019, like, because you couldn't buy his hat, and the ones that they wear are a lot different to the merchandise one. Yeah. And they like say athlete only on them. So I kind of like just asked him for it. He's like, "Oh, I don't know, mate, write my name on it." Like, I'm a huge, because I watched him in F2, and like I just loved him. I was like, this guy's going places. Yeah. And yeah, he wrote to Matt and gave me his hat. And then the next year when he saw me, he goes, "I remember I gave you my hat last year." So that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah. It's awesome. So I think it's... Here, I'll go.
Experiences.
Yeah, I think I was gonna just touch on how awesome those are. Like, it must be such a like a awesome feeling just remembering that like just like a simple conversation that you like that they had like has how it has such a big impact on a normal person that they can remember back
Oh,
to that and they can be like, oh, I remember that small moment at
yeah.
this random airport, or I remember this random conversation we had. It's really cool in that aspect.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, they'd see that many, thousands upon thousands of people each year, and for them to even like recognize your own member is just unbelievable. But yeah, I'd say like Seb definitely knows someone because I've had people go up to him and say, "Oh, Matt from Melbourne says hi," and he'll roll his eyes and laugh like he knows who I am, which is fucking amazing. And like this is a guy that I've watched through his whole career and just absolutely idolized. So it's kind of surreal, but really cool. Actually, another story about meeting drivers. Alan Jones, the Australian
Oh,
1984
yep.
champion. I was hanging around near the pits and I was like literally at the urinal, like having a piss. And I look up and he's literally standing next to me. I would have been about 16 at the time. And I was just like, "Oh, Alan, can I get your autograph?" Like while I'm, dick in hand having a wee. Like, I just didn't know what to do. I was like, it's like it's kind of like. And then anyway, he's like, "Yeah, mate, maybe once I finish." And I was like, and I was like, as he came out, he's like, "Do you normally ask men for their autographs in toilets?" So it was pretty funny. Yeah, that was a good one as well. But I don't know, I probably wouldn't do that now. But as a kid, like you don't have a filter when you're 16. I was just like, "Oh, can you just sign an autograph?" Literally, like whilst having a piss. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on one of. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna speak for you and say probably one of your best things you have is all your signed 2006 Futera stuff,
Yeah.
especially your Lewis with the thumbprint. I was kind of curious how that came about and how you were able to get such a awesome card signed by him, and then he managed to mess up and get his thumbprint on there too.
Yeah, I mean, look, so when I got the Futera, it must have been in 06 when I bought the 05 set, because the same seller told me about the 06 set.
Yeah,
And I always search for it, and he was like, "I've only got one, like, I don't have another set." I think he even mentioned that he paid something like $500 for his set back then as
oh
well.
wow.
So I searched Japanese Yahoo auctions, and I've got a couple of Japanese friends who are autograph hunters, and they'd like keep an eye out for me, and just nothing really ever came up. And I think it was the start of '09. There was a bulk lot of like 450 base Futera 06 cards.
Hmm.
And it ended up being like $400 Australian. So he actually, one of my Japanese mates bought it for me, sent it to his mum in Tokyo, who repackaged it and then sent it out to me in Australia.
Yeah,
And I ended up making 4 base sets, and then I had like a bunch of doubles. And because I was a uni student at the time, didn't have much money, I
yeah,
sold 2 of the sets just to like cover the cost to other autograph collectors, because they were getting cards signed as well.
yeah,
Just like the little circle that I knew we all had like the 05 sets, and then I kept 2 because I wanted to have a backup card of each driver in case I mailed one and it went missing, just so I'd always have a complete set.
yeah,
But I never knew like the value of the Hamilton card or what it would become. So I literally at one point had 4 of those in my possession. So
yeah,
it makes me want to cry with how much they're, because I've been offered 10 grand for my signed one. Which I wouldn't sell. And I believe an unsigned one, particularly if it graded well. God, I think the sky's the limit with that one. To be honest, it's a very unique card. Also,
yeah.
if you work out there's 40 cases of 12 boxes, and there was 4 base cards in a box. There can only be 288 of each base card.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I worked that out with another guy. I don't know if he really wants me to share that because he wants to make it seem out like it's a bit rarer than that. But having said that, I believe a lot of people would buy these cards and like throw them out. They'd keep the relic card in the box and just throw the base out. Like they weren't interested unless it was
Yeah.
like maybe the Schumacher or the Senna. I know for a fact a lot of them went into the bin. So I don't believe there's many of the Lewis cards out there. Like I know of 4. My second one went to a guy in England that gave me a Kimi Räikkönen mini helmet. Again, he was just a big Lewis fan. I thought it was just like a token gesture to give that to him.
And now,
I tried to not get it off him, but I sort of said, "Oh mate, is there any chance you'd sell it off him a bit of money for it?" But he wants to hang on to it. So good luck to him. That's what we did at the time, and it was a fair trade at the time. But
yeah,
yeah, so there's 4. I think that I worked it out. I'd have to double check, but I only know about 9 that are out there.
gotcha.
There'd definitely be more, but there's 9 that I know of.
None that you know of, yeah.
At the moment. Yeah, so it's extremely rare. But one of my mates, like he's the one that sold me the 05 set. I actually met him like by buying off on eBay, but I met him because he was an autograph collector. And we realised like we knew each other. But his one signed is a different Lewis autograph, but that I witnessed that one getting signed at the Australian Grand Prix in 07 in his debut race, and that's why the autograph is a bit different.
Gotcha.
Because Lewis's original autograph was like this big loopy long thing. It looks nothing like his current autograph, and as the weekend progressed, he was shortening it because he was signing that many autographs. Like he just couldn't physically keep signing his full long autograph, or he would have just been there all day writing. Because it was literally like a loopy version of Lewis Hamilton.
Gotcha.
Like the full name.
Gotcha.
But getting that one signed. I just remember. I think it was at the back because Lewis was one of the rare drivers that actually snuck out the back of the paddock. Like even Schumacher didn't do that in Australia. I just remember waiting at the back gate because I really wanted to get the card signed by him.
Yeah.
I remember he just like grabbed it off me, like signed it, and as he handed it back, he put his thumb on it, and he's just like, "Oh, sorry, man." And I remember he like rubbed his thumb on his pants afterwards. Like it's like one, how you have those like random clear memories in your head.
Yeah.
It's just one of those ones. Like he's like, "Oh, sorry, man." Like in his voice while handing it back to him, like popping his thumb on the card.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those really random memories that I've got. But yeah, like I wasn't at the time. I was a bit annoyed, but like now I think it's kind of cool that it's got his thumb.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because it's like I ruined the crystal, like because it was a really nice autograph he's done on it as well.
Yeah, it's probably at the time you're upset, and now you're looking back at it like how like that's just an awesome thing just to have his like thumbprint kind of on the card.
Yeah, it's definitely something unique there. Yeah.
Then yeah, I've always been so you're one of the few people that has it. Is there like, and I've always wondered when you have a card this rare, is there like. Is that something you just hold forever? Is there a price in your head that you have that you eventually sell, or how does that work for you?
That's only something I've had to sort of potentially think of in the last sort of 12 months, because I think when Topps announced their license, I think people started to go, hang on, fuck, Formula One are making cards. What are the original cards of F1? And people did searches on them, and that's how I think the value, and people became aware of that card. Because I remember my mate sold one of his for $2,000 Australian November last year, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, far out, that's a lot of money. Like I was sort of little did I know I've paid more than that for Topps autographs now, but that was how early I was into my F1 journey for a card. So to be honest, mate, I don't know. Right now, it's sitting in a folder with the full set. It's not even in a top loader. I like it making up the complete set. Like I'm a completist. I love full sets.
Yeah, I am too, as you know.
Yeah, no, of course. I know you're doing that in Black 70, so which is amazing. I hope you find your Lewis really soon. But
we'll see.
Yeah, fuck, it's a tough one, man. Like, look, it's not like I'm desperate for the money. Like, I have a reasonably, good job. I make money and everything else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you offer me $1 million, I'd probably sell it. $10,000 wasn't enough to tempt it out of me, put it that way. So I don't know. It'd have to be a pretty strong offer. But I'm not asking for offers because I don't really want to sell it, if I'm honest. It's something I'd probably love to hang on to and enjoy for the rest of my life, because that set was just something really special to me after the 05. Even back then it was just so hard to find. It was like a grail product for me, just wanting it to get signed. And I think out of who's alive, I'm only missing 6 autographs now, and I've got Lauda, Michael, who's irreplaceable, Sterling Moss, and Jack Brabham signed, who have passed away. So that's a very unique set for me, and it would take a lot to get out of my hands.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something that like you don't ever publicly go to sell, but if somebody comes up to you and makes you that's something where you kind of have to go to the guy because you know they're not going to sell it.
Yeah. I don't even know how I'd start that conversation.
Exactly.
I'd want to begin. To me, it's like, the whole thing is one unit, even with the Lewis card, and just like, I went to the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and, to get autographs, like Sterling Moss I got in person in England on that card, and they've travelled the world with me, some of those cards, and some of them might not be 100%, and they're definitely not going to gem, but, I've carried them around, and the autographs are all real, so... I don't know. I can't really answer that one, I don't think.
No, yeah, it's like just like I said, it's all about getting it. That's a lot more fun. Like with me with this black set, it's like sure, like getting the cards is fun, but like the hunt for the Lewis is what makes it so fun and like so rewarding. That like
absolutely.
Like me having to go to people, like how recently Justin, I think as of like a few days ago, got one. So like even like today on Instagram he posted it, and I'd like did some cheeky caption like, "Oh, I wish this was mine," looked like a heart or something like that, something funny like that, just to kind of. And then he liked the message. He thought it was funny, but like, just stuff like that where like, the interactions like that are what make it so fun in the first place. That ultimately, if I never end up completing, I want to complete it just to say I did, because I'm just kind of like that's like the athlete in me that just like is really competitive, just to say I did this and that nobody else did do it. But besides that, like I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. It's just a fun thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. But look, I think the 71, being the 70th year of Formula One, I think like that's a really cool sort of parallel set within Sapphire, and the black cards just look bloody awesome as well. So I think it's definitely not a bad thing that you're collecting those.
Yeah, and it's funny because I need to. So this is actually good news, really good news for my chase. My 26 card PSA order finally popped from who I sent them to, so I should get them back in like 2 weeks, and hopefully.
Perfect.
And it's looking good because at the time in January, I sent 10 of the George Russell Topps Now cards from 2020. So if I get a decent amount of those to gem, that opens up a lot of capital for me to play with. Not probably quite enough to get a Lewis, but definitely for something I could do a partial trade, partial cash, and make a serious offer at. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. With those Russells, did any of you guys have the print? Because I've got a few that have got like a white print line on it.
I got a few actually on me right now. I can pull them out and check for you.
Yeah, I've got one that I ordered from, because I only bought one of each last year. But the one I got from America looks pretty crisp. But yeah, I bought a few from a guy in England, and they've all got lines, and my mate in the UK, he's got lines in it. And I just think the UK, the Europe printed ones are not as good quality, particularly from 2020. I don't know about this year's ones; they're just not as good.
Gotcha. Was that like a print line a print line down the middle, or one on the side?
It's kind of like a white line or a white scratch. It kind of it goes horizontal. Some of the chrome cards have had them as well. Like I've got a purple Bottas Hamilton awards card, and there's like a white line across it too. I've noticed.
Now that you say that, I remember one of my from 2021. I had a Yuki Tsunoda. I had all my Yukis. I bought a 20 card set of Yuki, and I'm pretty sure all of them had. It wasn't down the middle of the card, but on the side. It was just this noticeable white line. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
That one's it's offset or miscut or something. Yeah, I think my Tsunodas are the same, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm building 3 full sets of 2021. One just to keep in the binder, and 2 I'm just going to try and get like signed, basically just extra cards. I mean, I don't think I'll get the Lewis ones done, but the other drivers, it's cool to have extra items to get
I need to buy from Mexico on. I kind of stopped after Belgium, so I'll have like 5 or 6 weeks I need to fill in. I don't know,
the print runs are so high that I don't think you can have too much to worry about.
So that's why I wasn't worried about it, and it's just the fact that like when I first bought 2020, I loved the pictures, like the shoe weaver from Danny Rick, the Verstappen. I loved all of them, and like even like the George and the Mercedes colors was awesome. But like this year they started doing too many horizontal cards, like just cards that like I wasn't interested in. Like this week, like that. I don't know if you saw the Bottas card. Yeah, we've got the Fangio thing. It's sick. Yeah. Like that's what I want from these cards. Like I want good pictures, just fun stuff to remember. I don't need like they do too many like of car horizontal cards. Like they're nice every once in a while, but I don't need the majority of them to be that. I just want fun pictures of the drivers from the weekend that are memorable for me when I look back at them.
Yeah, that's fair. I think also, I think Topps and probably F1 are mindful that it's about the cars as well. So I think that's maybe why we're finding a few more car pictures.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, it's car racing. I think maybe that's the angle that they're going for. But from a card collector standpoint, as I said, with like, the Adelaide cards, I know people want photos of the drivers rather than, the pictures of the cars. So that's an interesting one. But I think there's some really good looking cards. Like the Danny Rick and Lando Norris pitboard one is probably my favourite, I'd say, from 2020. Although that Bottas one that's coming out this week's pretty special too, with that helmet, to be honest. Yeah. I really like that. I'll definitely be trying to get one of those signed for the personal collection.
Yeah, that would be an awesome sign, especially if you were able to get buy off of like a 1 out of 99 or something like that. Would be really...
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, I got my first parallel actually yesterday, funnily enough, in the mail. I think ever since the 4th release of 2020, I've bought at least 1 to 5 cards from every one, and yeah, I got my first parallel. It was of 99 of just the normal Sochi win, not the image variation that everyone wanted, but still very pleased with it. It's still from a notable race. I was pleasant surprise. I was just sitting on top of the order, Yeah, first time I got one, so pretty happy.
Yeah, I haven't. The only ones I bought multiples of were the. I've actually done really well. The ones I decided to buy multiples of were the 2020 Russell, the 2020 Verstappen, and the 2021
Yeah,
Yuki. That's definitely the worst one, but like, still,
yeah,
like, I just, I still remember sitting in my room. I guess this was story time for me. I was sitting in my room last year when I had seen these cards come out, and I had slowly bought a few, and I kept telling myself like, what are the biggest stars? So I was looking for Russell Verstappen at the time. The Russell came out. I didn't know what to think about it. I did my toes. I bought 20 of them for $80. I was like,
yeah.
like,
In hindsight, I wish, and I should have. Like, I was starting to understand cards a bit more than I should have bought. Like, more Russells and Verstappens, but I didn't like that they had the mask on either, so that's why I was like,
yeah.
a bit apprehensive. I don't love the photos with the mask, but yeah, having said that, it was still their first cards as well. So I don't remember thinking, oh, even the max, should I just buy 5 of these? And I thought, oh, no, I'll just stick to one, and I'm kind of regretting it, to be honest.
So yeah, I bought.
I did.
Go ahead and I'll finish after you.
So I picked up a few extra Russells from a guy in the UK, but that's about it for me for the 20. I've only got one of each of 2020.
Yeah, so yeah, I did my feet in with the Russells, and because I had seen the trend of all the cards that once they went out of the tops, they went up like from the $4 that you could buy them on eBay to 8. So I was like, no matter what, like I'll be fine. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lose on them for that cheap. And then I kind of saw the trajectory of just kind of what they were doing, and I was like, you know what, like this Verstappen, like I saw Lewis's card had gone up a lot. His number 3 card, like his other like thumbs up. It's weird how he has like multiple thumbs up pictures,
Yeah.
but it was his thumbs up picture, and I was like, dude, this card for Verstappen, like his first ever tops card. This is as certain as I could possibly ever get in card collecting. I had never been so positive of something in my life, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna sell a Peyton. I had a Peyton Manning Bowman Chrome PSA 9. I sold my Peyton Manning, which at the time people probably thought was blasphemous if I told them, like the circles of card groups I was in, that I sold a Peyton Manning to buy Verstappen. But I managed to sell it for like $300. I bought 80 Verstappens,
Far out. Yeah.
and I mean the rest is history on that card. Like I'm doing
Absolutely.
I'm doing a 100 subscriber giveaway, and that's one of the cards. Like I have so many of them that like, sure, I'll throw it in for a giveaway. Like it's $100 card. Like, and I have so many of them that like I can grade 50 to 60 of them and give away 20, and it's like it's not gonna even affect me whatsoever. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good position to be in. But what's the I remember because I didn't know about the now cards. I just randomly stumbled across it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, how did I miss it?" I went back and bought them. I remember I paid $60 for the Australian, so probably 45 US. I
Yeah.
think it was for the Lewis one. I'm like, "Oh, this is so expensive." It's just like, and the seller was like, "Oh, mate, I know," and the shipping wasn't cheap coming from America, so he threw in the Albon one as well for free. And he goes, "Oh, sorry, mate. Like, that's just the market price. I'll give you a bonus." Like, because I just sort of messaged him, like, "Is there any flexibility on the pricing?" But I just can't believe, like, what that card's become as well. But again, that's me not understanding how cards work as a card market and looking at it. Because I was initially going to get them signed. I was like, "Oh, these look sick. I'll go get them signed next year at the Grand Prix." Not, I'm going to buy these to hold and collect. Not that I buy them even now with the idea that I'm sell them or be an investment, but yeah, it was so funny the view I had on cards initially. It was just items to get signed.
I don't blame you for that whatsoever. I bought mine at $20, and I thought at the time that was too much to pay. So I don't have much room to talk about. It was just because at the time when I checked, there's only like, I think they're on card 10 of 2020. So there was all of them, and I remember looking at them. Like I saw where all the other ones had sold for, where the Gasly was selling for, where the Ferrari one was selling for. And I was like, look, like it's like $8 to $10 a card.
Yeah.
Lewis was like $25, and I was like, dude, is it worth it paying $25 for this Lewis card? Like, and I remember I was sitting in the car, like I was sitting in the backseat of a friend's car, and I was like, you know what, like, you know what, I'll take a chance, I'll do it. And like that was the one time where I'm happy I probably at the time overpaid in quotation marks at the time,
Yeah.
for how much it was worth. And I mean, now it's
But
I don't
by
know
the
what it's
time
going
it
for
got
now.
delivered, it was probably already worth more than what you paid for it. So.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I don't know what it's worth. I know it's probably over 1,000 now. Still, I
I was
haven't.
going to ask, I don't, because as I said, I don't buy these with the idea that they're going to make money, so I haven't actually looked it up. But yeah, I was going to actually ask that. So about $1,000, it's not bad for $60 odd.
Oh, I know. So the ones that I know specifically, I know Russell was about. Russell and Verstappen are weird. They fluctuate pretty like weird. It can go down to 75. I've seen the Verstappen do like in the 110s a card.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are ungraded prices.
Yeah.
Graded, they're both you're looking $500 to $700 somewhere in there for a 10 PSA for them. That's probably pretty reasonable. If you get a good deal is probably something like under 500 for them. I would say it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, they have pretty good resale. It's just hard because people right now, I mean, this card market's really stubborn, and they just love Chrome. That eventually, when they
Oh, yeah.
see how like the Lewis cards numbered to less than 2,000, when they actually realize like that, like how much it could still grow. Like, I mean, I can't complain. I've turned what $20 into 1,000 on that. So like, I have no room to really talk on it, but like, it could still go up considering people see how hard they are to get.
Yeah, I feel like with a lot of this 2020 stuff, because it's the like inaugural, OG licensed top stuff. I think like we'll see, like we're seeing obviously a lot of hype now, and it might plateau off. But I think in the long run, just from what I can see, and I might be wrong, you'd be better fit to comment on this. But like I think in the long run, people will look back as this will be like a set that you'll want in your collection because it's like the very first ever licensed product.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to look back very fondly. And I think like they're also timeless. Like the portrait shots just with the chrome background, like the mock-up images of the 2021 cards, like to me, they just don't look anywhere near as good as the 2020 set.
Yeah.
I just like that they're just those crisp, sharp images, and yeah, I love the portraits from 2020.
Yeah, the portraits are. That's why when I started this black, I was like, I have to do portraits first because those are the ones that are going to go up the most since I started, and I was correct. I was correct on that. I didn't realize how much.
Sure.
I didn't realize how much Lewis would go up, but I knew that that's what people are chasing, those cards. So I knew that's what I needed to target first, and it's just like
the
you
image
said.
variations as well just look so cool. Like the Max one, he just looks like such a boss with like his helmet on his neck. I'm looking at it right now, actually.
Yeah.
The image variations are just unbelievable.
It's funny. Originally, when I first started my black set, I thought it'd be cool to get every single card I possibly could in black, so including all the image variations in black too. I quickly realized that's going to get way too expensive for me after like a month or two.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what, I'm going to drop the image variation thought process. We'll just get all normal portraits.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. I've put together, I've only opened one box of Sapphire because like being in Australia and time difference and trying to order them, it's a bit of a nightmare. But I put together a 1 to 200 just base set. And yeah, for pretty reasonable. I think probably under about $2,000, which I think is pretty good. But yeah, I haven't even bothered with image variations. Like it's just I've kind of given up. I thought like with the original Chrome, I need Lewis, Lando, and Bottas, but I just think the Lewis financially is probably a bit out of reach. Like it's not something that's a holiday for me.
Yeah.
Buying that Lewis card. So it's probably not, unless I have a trade in future or, I don't know. I can't see me getting one anytime soon. I mean, I initially was talking to some guy on Instagram and we initially sort of had a tentative that I'd swap a Russell Gold Auto for a Lando and Lewis variation and a Lewis Purple portrait. And then it went to, we cut the Lando out of it because the variation went up and now he doesn't want to do the deal. And
Yeah.
But, unless I do something like that, I don't think I'll ever get those cards. And with the purple portraits, I'm just missing Lewis now, which is frustrating. But I think a lot of people are in the same position as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say for your purple, I think it's frustrating, but that's still very reasonable. Like not too bad. Like I could see you getting that.
I think I'll get a purple Lewis one day. It's more the image variation. I mean, there's 300 image variations and 399 purple. But the image variation I think holds a bit more weight. It's a bit more of it's just, I don't know, I think people value it a lot more than, it should, in theory, 25% more if you're going off print runs, but I think it's worth more than that. Yeah.
And that's why I find it really interesting because I don't know. Everybody loves. I'm definitely less on the image variation, and it's weird that I say that because in baseball, I'm huge for the image variations. But I think I don't know what it is. I just think from the first set, I would rather, for me personally, I think this is all personal preference when it comes down to it. But I would rather have the standing because that's going to be slightly more iconic. Whether that's
Yeah.
whether the price will probably be less, but I think like even that card will be much more like if I ever want to move the cards in like 10 to 20 years, like it would be much easier for me to move that compared to like an image variation, which would be a lot harder. At least I would think it would be harder to move.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that might be price dependent as well.
And that's very
Yeah.
true.
But same with the autos, man. I've got 19 of the 20 autos now. I'm just missing Lewis, and you could have picked a Lewis up for 7 or 8 grand
Yeah.
at release, and they're a 30 grand card now, so that's probably one I'm never going to get as well.
And that's why it's so frustrating because like you're so like because like just like me, we're both at 19 out of 20, and we have a Lewis, and it's just so like annoying because you can't justify paying that, but other people
I'm
are
not.
paying that price. So it's just this
Yeah,
feedback loop where you just are just upset. You're just like, I remember there's one time in the Discord where I was just upset and I just started ranting. Oh, I'm never gonna get this Lewis. The prices are out of control. Blah blah blah. Just because like, it's funny. You just want it so bad, but you just can't quite get it.
Yeah, and look, I feel the same. Like, I mean, if I dropped 35 US grand on that's a big chunk out of my life savings
Yeah.
as a 32-year-old, So, look, in hindsight, if I look back and knew the Lewis card at 8 grand would go to 30, would I have bought one? Absolutely. But
Well, yeah.
at 8 grand, I thought they were really expensive, and you just had no idea. So,
No.
the most I've ever spent on a card is 2,000 US, which is for my base Max autograph, which I bought back in May.
Yeah.
So that was a big purchase, but I was like you when you were like certain. I was certain that this is effectively his rookie autograph card.
Yeah.
There's only 2 of them, even though there's gold ones at 50, so it's still an extremely low print run. And I think Max, if anyone's going to challenge Lewis in the foreseeable, decades, I think it's going to be Max. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think he's got the talent to do it if he's given the car.
Yeah, it's very, very fair point, and that's why I think it's just you have to be confident with what you kind of go in, like how we're both extremely confident with what you're doing, and if you're like, I've learned this over like with the cars that if I'm that confident in it, that there's probably a pretty good reason that I am, and that what I'm looking for is pretty correct.
Look, it's funny you say that. I nearly sold because I got a Lando 4, which I hid in a packet.
Yeah.
And I nearly sold that for 2,500.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of, I didn't. I just sort of backed it. And same with I've got 2 Russell Gold autos because I got one really cheap. It was actually involved in a scam, but 4 or 5 people bought the card off this guy. I ended up getting it because I was like really aggressive to him. And I paid goods and services, whereas I think some other people didn't. So I was a very fortunate one. I got the card for $500 US, but I almost nearly sold that for 2.5. But then I just sort of thought, you know what? I've watched Russell in GP3, GP2. This guy's a talent. He's won them back to back, and it's his rookie autograph card with the rookie stamp. Like, I'm just going to back myself and hold on to it. I don't need the cash. Like, as amazing 2.5 grand in my pocket is, or I can do some fun stuff with that. Can I replace that Russell autograph? And probably not. And I'm really glad now that he's definitely got the Merc seat. I didn't sell it.
Yeah, and so your purchase of 2 grand is your big sale. Mine's 850, and it's a lot. It's ridiculous when you really think about it. Like, I'm spending this much money on a card when like how much you could actually do with that cash is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, look, for you, I'm not. I know you're a college student as well, man. So that's like $850 to use a lot more than say $850 would be to me
exactly.
who's working full time and has a job. So then, like, that's that's a lot of money. When I was in your position as a student, fuck, I honestly, could I say I'd spend that much on a card? Probably not. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. How much did you open? Many boxes of Chrome?
I opened up 1 box of Chrome. I told myself I was going to keep it sealed. It was sealed for a total of 18 hours probably before I opened it.
That's about 17 hours and 59 minutes more than I would have kept it sealed for, though, to be fair.
Yeah, my whole reasoning is that I was gonna keep one sealed, and I was gonna go buy another one. And I had the first one. I was like, you know what? The boxes, like, they were stagnating at $400 a box, $400 to $500 a box. I was like, you know what? I'll rip this one. I'm sure there will be plenty available in the near future for me to buy one. Of course, right after that is when the run up goes in the national and I can't buy them anymore. But I was like, you know what? There'll be a chance for me to buy one again. So I went and ripped it. All things considered, I think I did pretty well on it. Especially now, I traded away the best hit. I actually traded to Chatty in the Discord. It was a Verstappen track tags gold out of 50.
Oh, nice. I think, look, I probably would have seen it at the time, but there's a lot of stuff posted in
Yeah.
because I kind of forget who's had what and whatever else. There's a bit going on in there, but yeah, that's a pretty good hit.
So yeah, and like at the time, it was half the box. I could only imagine what that price would be now if that sold. But I ended up trading it like a few days later, and I'll ask you what you think. If I got good value for it? I think now he probably wins, but at the time I had no complaints. I traded that gold, and I got in return a Russell refractor, a Leclerc refractor, and a Hamilton chrome base because I didn't get a Hamilton chrome base for my box. So I was ecstatic with that.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the gold track tag. To be honest with you, track tag is the one thing I haven't really tried to track down. And like I pulled a Vettel one, which I wanted because I'm obviously a huge Vettel fan.
Yeah.
I got a Danny Rick one as well, which was great because I love Danny Rick. The only one I'd also I'd love a Max one too would be Kimi because, growing up liking Kimi. So I honestly don't know the value of the Max one, but I'm guessing it might be a little bit more than what you traded it for, if I'm honest.
Probably now. I think at the time I think I probably got him a little bit better, but now he probably got me better, which is just funny how that works. But it's all
interesting.
That's how it goes. I can't like lose sleep over. I can't complain about it. It was we both at the time got what we wanted. So
look, if we're gonna lose sleep over deals, I had 4 fucking Hamilton Futeras, man. If I was gonna lose, I'd cry in the corner for about 10 hours if I actually sat there and thought about it. But at the time, it paid for the other cards I had, and I was I wouldn't have had what I had without selling them at the time. So it's all relative. Which as long as it's a good deal at the time you're doing it, then I think that's the main thing.
That's why I also, along this lines, when I go to sell something, I used to be big on trying to maximize my margins as big as I possibly could, but I realized that just takes too long. So as long as I can make something and somebody else likes the price, that's perfectly good with me.
I think when you've probably got less money to buy cards with, if you're flipping and you got to I think you've got to hustle a lot more. I think it's probably a much better attitude to have because then you're going to transact more, flip over more, and then get to the card that you want.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was for me to sell a card, it would have to be someone they're coming to me to buy it because I don't really want to sell. Like I've had people approach me on Instagram and Discord wanting to buy cards off me because I've obviously been lucky enough to pull some great cards and buy some great cards really cost effectively, but I'm not here to sell them. I just fucking love F1, and for me, I've got the intention to hold them forever.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's also I've grown to enjoy it because I've been, especially the F1. The F1 community is my favorite community by far. Just interacting with the people on a daily basis is just so much fun. Never know what somebody's gonna post in that chat either.
Yeah, look, I absolutely love it. I think with F1, it's nothing. There's no black and whites in Formula One. It's there's a lot of grey areas, and everyone reads results and drives and different, and there's just so many different opinions. And over the years, I've had some fucking amazing arguments on forums and Facebook pages and everything else, and that's what I love about it. People get really fired up and get passionate. And it's awesome. So not just the card chat, but I love the general F1 chat outside of that with that group. And I think the Discord's been really cool. Just I was actually a little bit skeptical. A lot of Americans would jump onto I might be stereotyping here to agree because it's a new card thing. It could be a new investment and everything else. But I've actually been really pleasantly surprised, I guess, is probably the right. I don't know if it's right to say it, but yourself and a lot of the people in the Discord, I got so much respect for because you have a really good understanding of the sport, and you're loving the sport for what it is, and the cards are just part of that as well. So I fucking love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely easy for me to get in big into F1 because growing up, I was my grandpa was a big NASCAR guy, so yeah, I was always around watching racing stuff, anyways. So like I still watch NASCAR and I watch Formula One. I watch all the stuff, so it's just easy. It just felt like a natural progression and transition for me into it.
Yeah, cool.
So and that's what I was looking for. So all right, I'm gonna do this. Is the first time I've ever had to do this. I am gonna run to the bathroom. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind, tell a fun story while I'm gone for people, and then I can watch this back after later, and it'll be funny for me. If you don't
You
mind,
put me on the spot. I don't know what I'm going to say.
maybe talk about interaction you had with the driver. I don't know, maybe a funny card story, buying something. Maybe a funny your favorite interaction in the Discord. I don't know, just something.
I don't know. Now, when we chat, it's fluid, it's easy. But then now I'm being put on the spot. I don't know what
That's
to
fair.
say.
I need to.
Go to the bathroom. I'll think of it. I don't know.
I don't know. Just be entertaining for a minute. Talk to the people who are listening. Tell them how much you love them.
No worries. Have you left?
All right, I'm leaving now. You're on the clock.
No worries. Well, yeah, probably not the most entertaining person. I'm not really a self-starter, but yeah, I don't know what to say. It's I guess actually probably one of the best stories I got was when I got my photograph with Michael Schumacher in his race suit. So I was at the 2010 Australian Grand Prix. They did a big fan day on the Wednesday. So in Australia, our Grand Prix weekend goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Thursday is generally like a fan day. You can do like a pit walk for the Grand Prix club, but they did it on the Wednesday that year for some reason. Anyway, I've lined up as normal and I'm walking down the pit lane. Like generally everything's roped off and you have to stand back from the pit boxes and you can't really get close to anything. But I've just sort of walked all the way down the end. And in Melbourne, the podium's kind of like above a big open area at the end of the pit lane and there's a gate under it. They'd left the gate open. So I just walked straight into the paddock with one of my friends. And then I think they realised that they left the gate open and shut it. But by that time, I've already got into the paddock. I'm sitting down like in the media centre and I've just realised, shit, I'm in the paddock. I wonder if the drivers are here. And then I've just seen Schumacher go from his hospitality area into the garage. I've gone, fuck, I can't believe this. Anyway, I've decided to sit just like on a table and chair. I didn't want to go up to anyone and everyone.
I'm going to let you know I'm back, but keep going. Keep going. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, so Michael came out again. I was like, Michael, can I get a photo with you? And he's just like, oh, look, just hang on. So I'm sitting there going, fuck, I just really want a photo with Michael Schumacher. Like, this is something I never thought I'd ever get. Anyway, he comes out again, and Michael's just like, wait. We're just sitting there, and we're going, come on, what's he doing to us? Anyway, the third time he came out in his full Mercedes race suit, and he was like, okay, now you can get a photo with me. And it was absolutely amazing to just get a photo with Schumacher in his race suit. Particularly, that was his comeback year after he had all those years off after Ferrari. So that was, pretty cool story. And, getting into a place that I shouldn't have been. So I just told the story of how I got my photo with Schumacher in his race suit.
Awesome. That's, I tried to be as quick as I could. I didn't want to put you on the spot because if you finish a story and you're just sitting there, I knew that would be tough. So.
No, I was kind of thinking, I sort of probably stumbled a little bit at the start, but with that photo as well, I got it printed out and then I lined up at the autograph stage, which is something like I never normally do. I usually just try and float around, and I got him to like sign the photo and he wrote like to Matt on it, and I also got a model car signed at the same time. The lady cracked the shits at me because you're only meant to get one autograph, but I managed to get two off him, so it was good.
Yeah, it's funny how they're always so like that. I want to definitely, since I don't really have, it's funny, like, because how, like, America's so big, that, like, the nearest track to me is Austin, and that's just, like, hours and hours away. Yeah. But I definitely want to try homing in on this by going to some NASCAR races, because those are much more attainable for me, much closer to me. Also think it'd be a lot easier, to get, especially because, like, they all kind of walk out of certain, like, I go to Sonoma, and they all kind of walk out from the same area. So, like, theoretically, if I stood there long enough, I could probably get a majority of them, but the problem is usually I'm with, like, friends, and I'm shooting the shit with them. And I was like, my friends, like, do they really want to stand with me for 30 fucking minutes to wait for these, like, autographs for people they don't really, like, they're not going to care about? besides me. So I never do, but I want to try it at one point just to see how well I can do with it. Because especially
That's
like
the to be honest with you, when you're not used to autograph hunting, the wait can kill you. But man, like honestly, like I've stood in the same area for a day, like, but you've cleaned
yeah
up and got all those autographs. So you kind of just get used to when, like, I think I've got a bunch of like normal mates who we have beers and enjoy stuff with, and then I've got
yeah
autograph mates. Who are wired a little bit differently. So what I try and do now with the Australian Grand Prix, like I get autographs all week. Like I go to hotels and go crazy. So like, but basically the week leading up to it, get autographs, and then Saturday morning I'll do the hotels as they go to the track. I'll go home, dump all my stuff, and then I'm just on the beers with mates and just enjoying it as a normal fan for the Saturday and Sunday. I think
yeah
if you just do the autographs, I think you lose the Grand Prix for being the Grand Prix. And look,
yeah
in previous years I've done that as well. But yeah, I think you've got to have a fine balance. But the autograph hunting can really consume you if that's what you want to chase. But it's not a bad thing. It's just I think the older I get, the more I just want to kick back as well. And you know, look, it is fun. Like, you know, being 32 and I've been doing this since I was literally 12.
yeah
You know, I still get a thrill out of it, and I love getting my stuff signed. But and to me, a little bit of the magic's probably gone in the sense like I remember, you know, I loved getting like Nicky Lauda, Jack Brabham, Jackie Stewart, who's still there, but like, you know, a few of the older guys that I've gotten over the years, Sterling Moss have now passed away, so a little bit of the magic behind that sort of gone for me.
yeah
But it's still cool, and I still definitely, you know, I'll probably be getting autographs when I'm like 50, 60, fuck, who knows? But yeah, maybe not in the capacity and the extent that I do now.
So what you're telling me is if I told you every autograph you get me, I'll pay you $50. You're gonna tell me you're running up my tab pretty quickly.
Yeah, if you'll accept, you know, autographs of like Mazepin and Ocon and the older guys who are much easier to get. But actually, I was pretty big in like the mini helmet community as well. So like I've got, at the moment, I've probably got 60 or 70 half scale mini helmets.
Uh-huh.
I used to have a lot more, and I've sold all of them. But people used to send me their visors, and I'd get them signed. Like I used to make like $4,000 or $5,000 over the Australian Grand Prix weekend getting autographs to people. Which was it became really stressful because like one year, I think it might have been like 2017. I just took on too much stuff,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to let anyone down. And I pretty much got fucking everything signed except for Lewis. I always said, look, you can send me stuff for Lewis, but I'm not going to guarantee you I'm going to get Lewis because he's so hard. I can't even get my own stuff done. But at that point, I pretty much got everything done. But it just it took the enjoyment out of the weekend for me. So I've stopped doing that. I just want to sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. That's why I think what you said is perfect. It's fun for the build up, like a Thursday, Friday at a practice where it's not nearly the stakes are nearly as high. But once you're getting into qualifying and race day, you're not going to want to sit around and try to get an autograph. And I feel like the drivers would be less inclined to sign on those days anyways. At least that's what I would assume.
Yeah, they do. As the weekend goes on, they're hard. Like sometimes I've never done it, but a few people that I know go to the airport on Sunday night in Melbourne because they'll go straight from the track and leave.
Yeah.
To go back to Europe, you can get some autographs on the Sunday night, but by then I've kind of just given. I don't want to go all the way to the airport after probably having 10 beers at the track on the Sunday. But
yeah,
because the Melbourne Grand Prix, it's in the parkland right near the city. It's like a big party atmosphere as well. So the Saturday night generally turns into a big night out as well.
Gotcha.
So I want to enjoy that.
Yeah, well, it's so for me and for other people who have never gone to an F1 race, do you have any big things? I'm potentially trying to go to one next year. I have my sights set on a few options. Curious if you have anything that I should know before I go.
Well, which tracks are you sort of considering?
If they go to Austin, I'm definitely considering Austin. Miami's out of the picture. Miami's too expensive. Looking at Canada as an option. Something kind of like that. So probably either Canada or Austin are my two potentials, I would say.
Well, I'm not going to be much help because I haven't been to either of those races. But look, I've had friends, I guess friends too, they've gone to Austin, but they've gone to Canada. And it's been highly recommended. Again, it's a big sort of carnival party atmosphere throughout the city.
Yeah.
Apparently the grandstands are really steep, so you get a really good view. If you can afford it, I'd try and get a reasonably good ticket. Do some research on the corners and where you think you'll get a good view. In my view, it is worth paying a bit extra for a really good ticket.
Oh, I'm in the same boat. I agree with that as well. I was looking for Canada, something at turn 1 to 2 area where they start, and you can see them go to the kind of the S corner to the right.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. So I think with the tickets, I mean, on the Friday, I'd walk around the track, even if you've got a grandstand. Maybe pop into your grandstand, just have a look at it, but try and walk around the track and just see it as much as possible.
Gotcha.
And then the Saturday and Sunday, stick more to your grandstand, I guess, because you paid the money for it. But yeah, I went to the Belgium Grand Prix in 2018, and for me, that's the most spectacular track I've ever been to. Like, it's just through the forest. Like, it looks steep on TV, but I don't think you realise how steep the hills are at the Belgium Grand Prix. Like, it's unbelievable. And I spent about 800 Australian for my ticket at the top of Rouge or Radion, whatever you want to call it now. And they let you go to the photography. They let me go to the photography holes on the Friday and Saturday, and you just see the cars coming at you with no fence. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But on the Friday, like, I walked around the whole track over the 2 practice sessions, and the hairpin, I forgot the name of it, about a third of the way into the lap is just like, you just see them go really slow in front of you, and you just get clear shots of them because you're like up on a hill looking straight down onto the cars. And they're probably about 30 meters just directly down from you, and you get like really cool photos of them unobstructed. But yeah, I recommend walk around any track I go to on the Friday. I'll do a lap of the track from obviously outside and watching it over the practice sessions, and then Saturday, Sunday, just enjoy it from your seat and have some beers.
Gotcha. Do you have a track in the future that you haven't gone to yet that you're really looking to go to?
Yeah, like, there's quite a few. I've never done Monaco because my view with Monaco is if I want to do it, I want to do it properly. I don't want to do it on a budget. Like, I want to, let off some steam and fucking enjoy it properly if I go to Monaco. Spa and Monza were bucket list, but I was fortunate enough to have done them in 2018. Kimmy got taken for the lead by Lewis with 7 laps to go or 9 laps to go, or whatever it was, which was a bit sad. But look, I'm in Canada. I've heard really good things, and Austin now, and look, I'd go to pretty much any Grand Prix, let's be honest. But I think Monaco, but to do it properly, which I'm probably not still quite there with how I'd want to spend the money on it, I think. But definitely Monaco, and even Austria. Actually, Austria looks really cool as well.
Yeah, my big one, I don't know why I want to, but my big one that I really want to do at some point is Singapore. I just think the night aspect to it is just such an interesting, and I love how it looks, especially.
Yeah, Singapore. Look, I did it on a bit of a budget, which was a bit because the tickets are quite expensive, comparatively to
other tracks,
some of the other races. And I think Malaysia was actually one of the best for viewing because you could see so much of that circuit at Sepang. But the tickets were just really expensive. So that big grandstand where they go under that little tunnel under it, I was like 2 rows back, so I could see the cars just like come into the tunnel and go under me. You just don't get to see a lot of the cars in Singapore because the grandstands, it's a street circuit.
That's what happens with the street circuit. Yeah.
Even with Melbourne, like, there's decent vantage points, but you can never see the cars for more than, say, like 10 seconds at a time. But have you ever seen, if you've not been to a race, or have you ever seen an F1 car live before?
No, the only cars I've seen IndyCar live, I've seen NASCAR live. I've not seen F1 live.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, they're just, it's unbelievable. Just like, it's not so much the straight line speed, but you watch those things take a corner and how fast they take it. It's it's next level. But I'm sure IndyCar wouldn't be too far. I've never seen an IndyCar, so I don't. IndyCar wouldn't be too far off it, particularly around the ovals. Man, they got some balls racing on that.
Yeah, I saw them race at Portland, and I sat right. Portland's this weird track where it's a straight start. And it's basically, imagine the Monza chicane at the start.
Yeah.
But instead of it being like all of it behind, instead of it being grass, it's all tarmac. So if they blow the corner, they just kind of, it's just a shit show, to be honest. If they blow somebody, because what happened on the first lap of this year was, I can't remember who the leader was. He blew the first corner, and all the people behind him are using him as their braking point. So the first 4 guys absolutely blew the corner. And they got sent to the back because there was like a pileup because the chain reaction of people being too late on the breaking point. So it was really funny for that, and that was really.
To be honest with you,
that was awesome.
I'd love to watch more IndyCar as well. Like, there's some really cool names in IndyCar, and like a few of the young guys that maybe should have a chance or could have had a chance in F1, like Eilert and Lundgaard and Grosjean, Ericsson. There's some really cool names in IndyCar, but again, like anything in unfortunately, Australia in the Americas, it's just shit times for us to watch in Australia. Like with the time
Yeah.
difference, that's the thing. Like I love Australia and it's such a good country to live in, but we're just so far away from the rest of the Western world. Like it makes it difficult.
Yeah, it's the thing that I'm bummed with IndyCar is they're moving kind of away from the ovals, which is kind of what made it kind of unique to me. As like right now, like it's almost like it's turning into like a X reject Formula One, which I don't have a problem with anyways. But like
Yeah, I feel
the ovals
I
are
feel
what
like with IndyCar didn't they used to have like two championships? There was two, like it was the oval champion and the street champion, and then the overall champion. It was like
that. Yeah, that was
I
from what I know. That was like some '90s. It was in the '90s. It was what did they had? They had kart, and they had
Yeah, I remember Kart. Kart was, and that's like when Montoya before F1, like he
yeah
was really good. And Sebastian Bourdais was like really
Bourdais.
good
Yeah,
before he came to F1.
Bourdais still racing in IndyCar. Yeah, it was kart and
Is he any good?
he's in like a mid to lower end car. He kind of drives towards the middle of the pack. But
Because he won 4 straight titles. Because we used to have the IndyCar in the Gold Coast,
yeah,
in Queensland, and I never went there, but I used to always watch it when it was on in Australia. And yeah, he like dominated for a large period there. Before he came to F1.
yeah, I did. So I've been trying to get more into IndyCar, and I learned that so how you like you're saying IndyCar used to go to the Gold Coast for their kind of annual race, and I learned of why they stopped, which is apparently they had, and I actually kind of watched the highlights. They had like the biggest disaster race I've ever seen. Of straight, I don't know if you know about this, but it was like a straight.
Was it 01 or 02? It was really.
It was it was the really rainy one, and they can only run like 10 laps under green, and then like the IndyCar like officials blew it because they said it was gonna go to X laps, and then people stayed out on fuel, and then they changed their minds and they pushed it back even farther, so those people had to come in and pit. So like people thought the winner was fixed. It was crazy stuff. But yeah, it's yeah, I really miss watching the ovals. There's one.
How many ovals do they race on now?
Honestly, now they only race. It's sad. They only race 3 or 4 ovals. They do.
Okay,
They race Indianapolis. They race Texas, but they're gonna take Texas off the schedule, which is fine. Texas isn't that great of a track. But that's something that you wouldn't care about. They botched that track. Then they go to some smaller mile ovals. They go to Iowa, they go to Richmond, but those aren't like your big ovals like you're thinking of. Like they're not going to Pocono anymore or Auto Club, which is a real shame because that's when I thought IndyCar was at its best. I mean, granted, that's probably the most dangerous form of racing you could possibly do. Going 240 miles an hour at Pocono down like Long Pond straightaway is insane, but. Yeah, there's something to that you just kind of don't get by all the street circuits.
Yeah, right. Well, how did because I know Scott McLaughlin, he was like our touring car champion. I know he's a Kiwi from New Zealand, but he was like phenomenal in Australian touring cars. But I think he did all right, didn't he, this year in IndyCar?
Yeah, McLaughlin. He raced. Who did he race for? See, I don't know. Like, I know the names. I don't know exactly what teams they raced for.
So it would have been Penske because I think he raced.
Penske
had a partnership with touring cars here, and he was a Penske driver.
Okay, because I was gonna say I was gonna say he was either racing for Penske or Chip Ganassi, and from what I remember, he was. I don't know if he won races, but I know he was like always competing in top 5, top 10.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And I think Montoya still races as well.
Yeah, Montoya like comes back for just the Indy 500 every year, which is really funny. And so
is that all he does?
Yeah, so right now, I guess this is almost 2 hours in, but I'm gonna give a shout out maybe to you too, if you for one of my favorite, what makes IndyCar at its peak. It's a little known race, the last ever race held at Auto Club or California Speedway. The 2015 Math TV 500. I just looked this up just to make sure I got the name right. And what makes this race so interesting is this year in IndyCar they botched, maybe not botched is the right word, but their speedway package was really messed up. So effectively, at tracks like Auto Club, it turned into NASCAR pack racing more or less.
Right.
The NASCAR style pack racing at a Daytona or Talladega. So these guys in IndyCar are pack racing each other like in NASCAR at 240 miles an hour at Auto Club. And it makes for some gnarly footage to watch. of these guys are going like 4 wide on this track, going 240 miles. It's insane. Thankfully,
I'll have to
nobody.
check it
Thankfully,
out.
no. Thankfully, nobody died. But this was like the turning point for the drivers. They said they weren't gonna do another race like it ever again. And I think this is the big catalyst for less ovals because it was so dangerous. But
Yeah, I remember the early 2000s. Like, I'm old enough to remember like watching Zanardi lose his legs, like
yeah,
watching that race, and yeah, that was some scary shit. Some of those crashes, man, on those ovals. But I don't know. Have you heard of a movie called Driven? It came out in 2001. Like, I'm probably showing my age here, but
yes,
um,
I have.
watch that. It's like it's a Hollywood movie. Like Sylvester Stallone's in it. Like he's like
Is this the movie that everybody says is like the worst racing movie ever because it's so like
yeah, but it's like it's so bad that it's good.
exactly,
I recommend,
yeah.
like, just for the sake of watching it, man. Like and like they've got this guy Jimmy Bly, who's like the young rookie guy coming through, beating Sylvester Stallone, who's like the old wily Fox driver. It's kind of like, have you got the new F1 game?
I do.
Like on PlayStation.
Oh, is it like the
Yeah,
breaking point?
It's like the career mode.
Oh, okay.
It's like, yeah, it's exactly like that. Sylvester Stallone's like the old angry Dutch guy, and you're the rookie, which is like, yeah, it's kind of like that. It's pretty funny. I'd recommend watching it if you can.
Yeah, I found I've gotten really picky with racing movies, and I knew I got too picky when I was watching Ford versus Ferrari, and they're supposed to be doing the Daytona 24 hour, and I can clearly tell the track they're using is not Daytona, and it just kept pulling me. It just kept pulling me out of it every time. They're filming at Auto Club in California, and the reason I know that is because California has distinctly blue walls around the track, and Daytona has the white walls around the track.
When you start picking things up like that, you're a real race fan.
And that's why, yeah.
Inaccuracies like that just shit me off the wall. Like when I watch, movies as well. I didn't mind that movie. Like there was a lot of inaccuracies in it, but overall, I actually thought
that's something that's like.
Out of a movie.
I think that's something that's so out there that you can kind of enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
But for like Ford Ferrari, for how good it was at that point, I saw that and it just took me completely out of it. And I was like, dude, this is not Daytona whatsoever right now. Like, how can you do this to me?
I love that, like, one inaccuracy, you get a B and you bonnet and just fucking ruins the whole movie for you. Yeah, I've had that happen. I can't think of it, but yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. So we've been going for about, I'm gonna say, hour and 45. I always say I'm gonna try to wrap it up shortly. It'll take me another 25 minutes to do so, but
yeah, that's cool, man. So as I said, look, with me, it's gonna be, you can go down a rabbit hole and we can go in different directions.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of F1 stories, knowledge collectibles, so just depending on what direction you wanted to take it. But is there anything else specific that you wanted to chat about or no?
See, I had this great idea that I was gonna have people in the Discord ask questions. Nobody decided they wanted to send a question for me to ask, so I'm gonna blame them for that. Most of the questions I kind of thought of I asked earlier. I'm not sure. I wanted to just get as much as I could out of you because of how, like, people, like, I talk to people in the Discord and they're like, oh, you have to get Matt on, like, you have to get him on to do a talk. Like, I just have to hear his stories and what he said. So, and I knew you said you wanted to do it, so I was like, all right, that's all I have to. That's all you had to say.
Yeah, I was happy to do it. I mean, look, I just probably, I don't know, how well I've done. I mean, I'll probably, a bit better in person to talk about things. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, man. But yeah, I can talk about F1 all day. So
yeah. So yeah, since you joined, I am doing my idea. I tell everybody I'm trying to do a Christmas special where anybody I've talked to can come on if the time fits them to just talk. So it could be a group of 10 people. It could be 2 people. So if the times line up for you, because I know your times are just terrible over there, come stop by and mess with everybody.
Like early to mid afternoon, it can work. It just depends on what day. I generally, like, if you're going to do something on your Friday night, I can struggle. I'm just not that busy with work at the moment. But Saturday mornings and Saturdays are tough for me to do this. Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your Saturday then, because I know you're.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Always happy to chat F1, man. I love it. It's good. Like, growing up, like, I always had the same passion with it, but not as many people were into it. But I guess over the years, a lot more people have got into F1. You find, I guess you look and find people that are like-minded, and yeah, that's what I guess a hobby is and makes it so good.
That's why I love this so much. Like, this Discord is like one of my favorite things right now because, like, it's just so nice having people you can talk to with shared interests. Like, in my personal life, like there's a few people that I can talk to about Formula One, but not nearly in the depth that I kind of can go into in the Discord and talk about past stuff. So it's just a breath of fresh air for me to be able to go like show off like the cars I buy, because like it's different. Like
Yeah.
some people like I have people up here that I do cards with, and I have people that I talk F1 with, but they don't overlap whatsoever. So if I even try to go to that, it's like not that they don't care, but it doesn't hold the same weight because like for the card guys, they're more Pokemon, football, more traditional. So it's nice
Yep.
just to be able to hop on with people, shoot the shit, say stupid stuff to troll people. Maybe I should talk about this, why you decided you wouldn't be such a troll recently on online. I know you were talking about that with me earlier before we started. Why? I just wanted to hear it again from you. Why you decided you wanted to take up that role, being the
Oh,
grumpy
it's
old
not really
guy.
been well, a troll like in the sense with Futera, like calling them out on
Yeah,
the choreograph.
exactly.
I wouldn't say like that to me is not trolling. That's like calling them out on like fucking authenticating a fake autograph. That's I don't know. As I said, that just didn't sit well with me. They've part because realistically in 2006, that would have been like the biggest hit, a 101 Schumacher.
Oh yeah.
Schumacher, you know, he was off the back of 7 championships. He was competing heavily for his 8th that year and got done by Alonso. And yeah, the fact that arguably the best card in that series is a fake autograph, it just doesn't sit well. And to me, that just really questions their credibility on their relics. I think, look, even now, if they did like a base set of cards that weren't licensed, I'd probably buy them as just extra items to get autographed, particularly from like the lower and mid grid guys that don't have much for.
Yeah.
But it's just it's like how can you trust the authentication of an unlicensed product? It's like an oxymoron, really.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have any question of it. It's just the fact that I saw that Schumacher autograph, which I'm that certain is fake, that now it just sort of it's tainted like their relics and autographs for me personally. I still think their base sets from the mid 2000s are fantastic sets, and again they weren't competing with, as I mentioned before, a direct license. So I think their base card set should still be held in high esteem. I just don't know about their relics and autographs, and I'd just be, buyer beware with the new stuff. Like they're cool looking cards. Good luck to you if you buy them. I just personally, it's kind of like the budget bargain basement version of the dynasty or dynasty card, as I'd say.
Yeah.
Tops. Yeah.
I think I should clarify.
Yeah.
That's not. I wasn't a I should have clarified you trolling on Facebook with those groups and the Discord. Not. Yeah, what you bring up is very fair points, but I know you can be definitely say some funny stuff in the Discord, get some guys going, which
Yeah,
I
love
really
getting into the
appreciate.
arguments over like who's the best driver and all that. Because look, mate, I completely respect Lewis Hamilton, and I think he's a fucking amazing driver. Like as much as it pains me to say that, I know that he is, and I'm not trying to say otherwise. But
Yeah.
I think from someone that's watched Formula One from the late '90s and religiously since 2001, haven't missed a race.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think like with Hamilton, like so 2014 through to now, effectively, Formula One has not changed their engine regulations.
Mm-hmm.
In any other era, you look 2010 to 13, Seb won all those championships. They changed the formula to mix it up. Schumacher won 2000 to 2004. They changed it going into 05. And then Alonso started winning. Hamilton's had the longest era without any fundamental changes to the cars. And Merc has had that much of an advantage. And just to show how strong the Merc was, Williams were getting podiums at the start of this era with a custom Merc engine.
Yeah.
They were generally faster than, say Red Bull and whatever else. So there's also a lot more races per season now than there was when Schumacher was racing. So Hamilton's just had a lot more opportunity to get to those 100 race wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like, he did get beat by Nico Rosberg in the same car, which, Schumacher, that never happened. I guess to a degree his comeback in 2010 has maybe tarnished his legacy and his stats. But if Schumacher didn't come back after 2006, his
Mm-hmm.
stats would look so much better, like number of races to podiums and
Yeah.
wins and everything else. So, look, Hamilton's an amazing driver. I just feel like he's a little bit overinflated. And the stat that does it for me is, as it stands now, there's been 5 seasons when he's been a chance to be world champion coming into the final race, and he's only won 2 of that 5.
Yeah.
So just when he's really pushed and pressured, he doesn't quite deliver. He dominates in the best car and just puts them to the sword when he's got the best car. But I just find when he's being pushed, he does crack. Rosberg had him on the ropes in 2016, and that came from the back end of winning through 2015 into all those races into 2016, and they had that big collision in Spain.
Yeah.
I know Hamilton did have an engine failure towards the back end of the season, but personally, I don't think that's the reason he lost the championship. I think Nico just drove phenomenally and really got under his skin that year, and that's partly why Nico even said he retired. He didn't like the person he had to become to focus on beating Hamilton, and week in, week out, he couldn't give what he needed to his family and put himself that much into the Formula One world. So that just tells me again how strong Lewis is, but I just think you can get to him and you can beat him. Whereas Schumacher, he dragged cars in the late 90s that shouldn't have been in world championship position to winning world championships, and that's why I personally think Schumacher's GOAT. I know he did a few shitty things throughout his career, but these people aren't wide like you or I. They're different. Yeah. They're different beasts.
Yeah.
If Lewis somehow wins this championship against Max, definitely a lot more credibility in the argument for the GOAT chat. But for me, he's up there, generational talent, all that kind of thing. But I'd still hold Schumacher in higher regard than Lewis, just personally.
Gotcha. I'm happy we got that out of you here in that point, because it's nice hearing somebody who's seen both of people race. Because a lot of people, especially now, they haven't seen Schumacher. I don't feel it's hard. Especially it's the same thing with basketball for me. Like, I don't feel comfortable labeling LeBron or Jordan because I didn't get to see Jordan really play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the same thing as right now.
Or Fangio. Senna died when I was 5 years old. I've watched a lot of his races on video and everything else, but I wasn't there to experience the emotion in the championships, watching it live at the time. And Senna was just, I think he was just crazy. I think his natural talent was probably could be argued the best, but he still only won 3 titles as well.
Yeah,
Excuse me for a sec.
Then I can't say anything on those old guys. It was such a different era.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I used to write for Sterling Moss, I actually asked him I said, look, Vettel's winning a lot of races now. This was in around 2011, 2012, and Hamilton was obviously pretty impressive still back then. And I said, who do you think's the best racer? Look, I think any driver in any era, they can only win in what the machinery they've got. But he said, for me, no one will rival Fangio. Winning 5 championships in an era where you're having a death every second Grand Prix, and he hand wrote that response on the back of an envelope too.
Yeah.
So I think Fangio, Schumacher, Hamilton's definitely in the mix. I think again, as I said, if he somehow pulls it off against Max, in the next couple of races, then definitely the GOAT argument has a lot more credibility. And his stats are hugely impressive, and he's put himself in that position to be in that car and done a phenomenal job with it. But I just think Schumacher had a bit more competition for a lot more of his career, and there's a lot less races per season. It's just simply, next year we're going to 23 races, which is just 6-7 races more than when I was growing up as a kid watching F1.
Yep. All right.
Seven race wins was a championship. If you won 7 races in a season, you would have won the championship.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up better than I did last time. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed listening to your stories, your expertise, kind of more on this era. I definitely learned a lot from here, so I'm appreciative that you took time on your Saturday, my Friday, to come on and talk.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thank you for having me on, and always happy to chat in the future as well. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to message me as well or follow me on Insta.
Yeah, and you can find him. Let me correct me if I'm wrong. It's the theausf1collector. That's
it. That's the one.
Yeah, perfect. So go follow him there. If you're in the Discord, he's Vettel1. If you want to talk to him there, have him tell you stupid stories. Don't. You can waste his time with that stuff, but. Thanks for coming on. Thank you guys for listening. A lot of fun talking to these guys. We'll have a video coming out next week. Have a good one. Talk to you guys later. Bye.